Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the 5 greatest Schumann pianists. Now, this has been a tough list for me, and I have to explain to you a little bit why. You'll have some sympathy, I think. Actually, I was never a fan of Schumann. I never quite liked him. I mean, I liked a couple of the symphonies and some other things, but as a pianist, no. I mean, I actually played the piano a little bit, but the reason I was put off Schumann is because my father was an exceptional pianist. I mean, he could have had a scholarship to Juilliard and all that stuff. He won competitions at Town Hall back in the 1940s, and he detested Schumann because he wanted to play jazz, and he had this cranky old teacher who insisted that he play Schumann. And every time I mentioned the name Schumann, he would have this Pavlovian reaction. He'd like turn green and drool and whatnot, And I always regarded Schumann sort of as something that was created to torture my father. And so I kind of resented him. And when I began listening to classical music and started listening to piano music, I mean, Chopin had all this emotion and it was gorgeous tunes and it was wonderful. And Schumann seemed to me, by comparison, kind of clunky and long-winded, and I don't know. It just, I was prejudiced against him. I freely admit it. And it's taken me a long time to get rid of that prejudice. It's hard, especially if it happens when you're young. But the other thing about it is that Schumann's style, I freely confess, took a lot of time for me to absorb. I never much cared for Carnival. Well, even once I started liking Schumann. My favorite piano work of his is probably the Songs of Dawn, Gesang der Frühe, whatever it's called, Gesänge der Frühe. Oh, it's gorgeous. It's a late work. Not that well known. The pieces that everyone tends to like, Papillons, stupid little butterflies, who cares, So I always love the Davidsbüttler Tänze. I do. I don't know why. Probably because the concluding march is in triple time. And that's one of the things that Schumann always does well. In the business, they call it a hemiola, having a 2-on-3 rhythm superposed. He's very, very clever at that. Anyway, the reality is that unlike most composers, where I just love the composer, and so if I love the composer, I love the music, I can listen to a million different performances. With Schumann, it was just the opposite. I followed the artist. If there was a pianist who I really admired and respected and they played Schumann, then I listened to their Schumann. And eventually it sunk in because the artists showed me the way. And that almost never happens with me. I realize I'm a little bit weird that way. Most people follow the artist and they enjoy what the artist plays and they're open to whatever the artist is doing. With me, it was always the opposite, except for Schumann. And so it's been a wonderful experience for me getting to know Schumann, not just because of the excellence and mastery and genius of the piano works, of course, but because it has allowed me to become, to admire much more the ability of the artist to create something special that touches me, not just the composer. So that's my Schumann story. And here are my 5 greatest Schumann pianists ever. And you can tell me what you think. First, Wilhelm Kempff. Kempff's Schumann appealed to me because of its seeming effortless simplicity of utterance. I listened to him play Schumann, and it's just the most wonderfully natural thing. And Schumann is a composer who doesn't always sound natural. And part of the problem, I think, is that, what do you want, Finster? Finster, come here. You want to come up? Come here. Come here. Come say hello. Wait a minute. We're having a cat moment. Oh, there we go. There she is. Good girl. Now sit. Sit. Come on. Good girl. That's a girl. Okay. Now we're in business. She's going to jump down anyway in a minute. But anyway, so Kempff, his total identification with the idiom and its simplicity and naturalness of utterance just banished all of the clunky qualities that kind of annoyed me about Schumann's piano music. And so he was like my first big love when it came to Schumann's piano music. Then, on the other hand, was Martha Argerich, who hasn't done all that. Well, she's done a lot of the ensemble music. Wait, don't. There. I just didn't want her to like stomp on the controls here and turn everything off. Thank you. Anyway, Martha Argerich did what? The Second Sonata and Chrysleriana and some other stuff and whatnot. But I mean, she's Martha Argerich. She's so exciting. She's so much fun to listen to. She really got me into the Second Sonata, for which I am eternally grateful. And she's just, a force of nature, as everybody always says. And I wish she'd done more solo music. I really did, because she could probably have turned me on to Carnival like nobody else, but that's okay. Under controlled conditions. Maurizio Pollini. Pollini I admire tremendously because of his intellectual control. I mean, he does the fantasy and in C, which I adore, by the way, now. But the first movement, that that fantastisch and leidenschaftlich and all that, romantic craziness, which he plays with absolutely fabulous poise. But then there's the rest of it. Lots of people capture the first movement well, but the other two movements are not so simple. They really aren't, and because they sound very different. And he manages to bind the whole thing together. It's just this inexorable progress that I find incredibly dazzling. And he does the Gesänge der Frühe. He does the Songs of Dawn. So, yay! Thank you, Maurizio. Oh, I appreciate that tremendously. Then there's Alfred Cortot, who is one of those, historical piano guys that, I'm not a historical recording person normally, so I don't really care. But it's different with the piano, because the piano records somewhat well. You can't be a historical recording person if you only like orchestral music, because it just sounds terrible. You don't hear half of the orchestra. It's just irritating. But with singing, number one, where you just hear the voice and nothing else, and solo playing, at least piano playing, historical recordings can sound pretty good. You can tell very well what the artists are doing. And Cortot was just a genius when it came to all kinds of music. But Schumann, I think, particularly, he had a real feeling for. He captured the music's capricious qualities and its strangely romantic qualities. I mean, so many artists play Schumann with this sort of slurpy rubato, and it's supposed to be romantic and expressive, and they think the more they muck with it, the more romantic and expressive it is. And well, Cortot could muck with it, and it made sense. That's all I could say. I mean, you listen to him mucking, and you think, it's terrific. So Alfred Cortot, and last but not least, recently Eric Lesage, for his complete Schumann box. All the piano works on, 13 CDs or something like that. It's like a whole bunch of them. Now, Eric Lesage is a splendid pianist. He also did all the music with piano and the chamber music with piano, that is. He's done that too, in another box for Alpha. There have been other people who did complete Schumann cycles. There's York Damos, and there was, what was her name? I had that lady who did them all on some strange label. And I tried to get through 30 years ago or 40 years ago and gave up. But, and they were good, supposedly. But Eric Lesage has done justice to Schumann. It's all here. It's all good. It really, I think anyway. I've enjoyed listening to the highways and byways of the repertoire that I didn't always pay attention to back in the day. It's a fabulous achievement, a wonderful achievement. So he's my recent addition to the list. And those are my 5 greatest Schumann pianists. I am very curious to see who you decide are your 5 greatest Schumann pianists. So let me know and let the argument begin. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.